Okay, so the purpose of this prac is really a bit of self-experimentation with a lab partner where we're running a whole bunch of different experiments on each other to test various aspects of the sensory and motor systems. So the first part of this prac is really about the somatosensory system and specifically about sensitivity and acuity in different parts of the body. So sensitivity we're looking at with respect to the density of touch receptors or touch spots, and acuity we look at with respect to the size of receptive fields. So I have my lab partner Melissa ready to be my subject. So what we're going to do first is look at the density of touch spots, which is experiment A1. So first step is to stamp this little grid at the base of the thumb there on the palm. And Melissa will show that to the camera. And what we're really doing in this part of the experiment is trying to determine how many, or the density of touch receptors on the palm, and we're going to compare that to the shoulder and the lower back and try and understand what that tells us about the sensitivity of different areas of the body. So I need to blindfold Melissa. Just like that. A lot of this section of the prac is done blindfolded. And then I'm going to use this von Frey hair here, which is essentially a filament that you can touch against the skin, but the amount of pressure you apply doesn't really change the amount of pressure applied to the skin. So it's a good way to test the density of touch spots. I'm going to touch within this grid in 6 of the squares and 5 spots within each square, and Melissa's going to respond with a yes when she feels a touch. So we'll start this now.
Yes. 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 I don't know where you're up to.
Okay, so that's our 6 squares. Okay, so the experiment on the hand, Melissa responded to about half of the touches. So now we're going to move to an area that should be lower sensitivity, which is on the back of the shoulder here. So again, placing the grid there. And doing exactly the same thing with the von Frey hair, pressing in 5 spots within 6 of the squares. Okay, so far lower response rate doing it on the shoulder, probably about a quarter of the spots or even less Melissa responded to there. So now we move on finally to the lower back. So Melissa, if you could please stand up. Okay, so we're going to again put a stamp on the lower back and repeat the experiment.
Yes.
All finished. So in this case the back gave us a bit more sensitivity than the shoulder, but far less than the palm of the hand. And this is consistent with what is usually seen in the published literature. So overall that experiment gives us a bit of a sense of differences in the density of touch receptors and overall sensitivity of different parts of the body. Okay, so the next 2 experiments are really about tactile acuity. So looking at the underlying concept of the size of receptive fields and what that means for our perception of sensory stimuli. So in the first experiment, A2, I am basically, again, I've got Melissa blindfolded and I'm going to draw some letters or numbers on different parts of her body in the same sized font and see how well she can determine what those are, and then we'll move to slightly larger font. So I'm going to start with your fingertips, Melissa.
A.
It is an A.
Woo!
Okay, so I'll go to the palm of the hand now using the same size type.
C.
That was a C. And now if I move to the back and see how well she does on the back.
Ooh. G.
That was a G. Yeah. Amazing sensory ability. Okay, maybe I need to go smaller.
Ooh. 8.
That is an 8.
Oh. I don't know. I think an N. Well, I obviously got that. N.
No, so the last two were wrong. So the smaller we go there, the harder it is to perceive.
What were they?
That was an F.
Oh.
And that was a picture of the Mona Lisa I drew on your back there. A hard one to get. Okay, so that's the idea with the spatial sense part of the experiment. And you'll obviously see that the fingertips have far greater acuity than does the palm of the hand, but particularly the back as well. And we'll talk about reasons for that. So while you're blindfolded, we might move on to the next experiment.
Okay.
Which is 2-point discrimination. So for this experiment, and you can do this one at home because these are implements that you might have around the house. We just need a ruler and a pair of compasses. So the idea here is that we are going to adjust the compasses to touch Melissa on the skin, and we want to touch quite gently because we want to engage just the touch receptors and not any pain receptors. And Melissa's going to report whether she perceives this stimulus as 1 touch or 2 touches. If it's 2 touches, then we're hitting in 2 different receptive fields. Obviously, if she's just perceiving 1 touch, even though we're touching in 2 spots, it must be within the same receptive field, given it's perceived as a single touch. So again, we found that the fingertips are far greater acuity than the compasses allow us to test. So we're going to start on the palm of the hand, then move to the shoulder, and move to the lower back from there. So Melissa, I'm going to touch now. You tell me if it's 1 or 2.
2.
2. So then I reduce this down, the distance between the 2 points.
Ooh. Probably 2, but it's getting tough. Yeah, 1.
Okay.
No, 1. I don't think I have very good sensitivity. 1. 1. 2.
Okay, so what we've done there is we've brought the distance between the points in, and when it was 1, extended it back out until we start perceiving 2. So we can then record the distance there using the ruler. And so you've got 11 millimeters there. We'll now move to the back. So we'd repeat that experiment 5 times in 5 different parts of the palm. I'll now move up to the shoulder and see how we go here.
1. 1. 1. 2.
Okay, so you see we had to extend the distance out quite a distance there to be perceived as 2 touches. So as opposed to 11 millimeters on the palm, we've got 63 millimeters
Really?
for the shoulder. Yeah.
Yes.
And we'll quickly do the lower back while you're in that position, Mel. Oop. Okay, so quite similar to the shoulder. That one's at 55 millimeters. So that's the 2-point discrimination task. Again, you can do that at home with your own lab partner. Obviously, what that's really telling us about is the size of the receptive fields, and if you repeat that, you tend to get fairly consistent results. So you think about the sensitivity of the touch, or sensitivity of different body parts with the density of the touch spots, and also the acuity of your sensory system with respect to receptive fields. There's fairly good evolutionary reasons why that would be the case. So obviously things where we really need that manual dexterity, like the use of the hands and the fingertips, we've evolved over time to have those being highly sensitive, a high degree of tactile acuity. But a part of the body like the back where we don't really require it to be hugely sensitive or, a great deal of tactile acuity, we tend to have much larger receptive fields, lower density of touch spots, in the sake of, the efficiency of building a body, if you like.